All right, so today we're checking out a really cool section of the St. Louis River. We're above the Thompson Dam, right above the outflow before it goes down into Jay Cooke State Park. This is a really granite-filled, wild area. What's really cool about this spot too is at the very northwest corner, we have an upstream section of the St. Louis River where you can paddle up quite a ways, and eventually it turns into some pretty gnarly whitewater, and it's a really popular whitewater kayaking spot. So we're gonna see how far upstream we can get there. The other cool section about this reservoir in particular, it's really easy to access. There's a great public access spot sponsored by one of the local universities. So you have canoe and kayak set-in options right here on the south shore. And then there's also just scatters of islands, all these really beautiful public land accessible granite islands scattered throughout this whole 400-acre body of water. So we're gonna grab the canoe, do a short, probably 30-rod portage, and hit the water.
So the boat landing that we're using today is sponsored by the University of Minnesota Duluth campus, and the portage starts just directly behind us. It's a quick jaunt on this road and then up into the water. So for a quick evening trip like this, we normally only bring a couple of things, and here's what we bring. So we have our little fishing bag that we have some extra flies with us, and then a couple of waters and miscellaneous items. We always bring our 2 paddles, of course, and these are bending branches paddles. So you can see that unlike a normal paddle, it is slightly bent, and that helps chop through water so you get a more effective stroke in the canoe. Lastly, we always bring with our life jackets, and these life jackets we bought specifically because, well, 1, they were cheap off of Amazon, and 2, because they're really nice for any sort of canoe where you have a back support in place. This bottom part is mesh, so you're not getting the feeling of something between your back and the seat when you're sitting down. We also periodically go whitewater rafting, so these are double duty. We use them not only for our canoeing because they're pretty lightweight, but also for our whitewater rafting. So we're just pulling up to the first island. It's actually right off the boat launch, but we saw this yellow sign that looks like a kayaking sign. Anyways, it looked like we could park our canoe here, so we're gonna just scope it out and see what's on this island. It looks like it would be fun to explore. So this island is very pretty, but we don't really know why they put up a kayaking sign here because there's a little path that peters out pretty quickly. We thought maybe it would be a campsite. Unlikely because it's just so close to shore and everyone else. But yeah, it's a pretty little island that we get to walk around on and check out, and lots of pine trees, lots of good granite. So we've decided to move on from that first island that we checked out. There's a lot more in the area to explore, and they all look absolutely gorgeous. There's a lot of exposed granite right now. With the water levels being low and just how nice the area is normally, we get really great views of things that normally would be hidden by water.
So we're out here and we realize even right now the bottom of my paddle, this is probably the entire blade is, I don't know, 14 inches, hitting bottom It's a soft mud bottom. We're, 50 yards out from any land structures. So water levels are incredibly low right now. In fact, you could probably be wading here, and we're almost in the middle of this reservoir. So it just goes to show there's a lot of sections that are, water levels totally are probably 4 to 5 feet down from where they usually are. And I think that's changing the topography of what's accessible in this section of the St. Louis like it never has before. So it's really interesting to see.
We just ended up creeping up this channel that's an outflow into the St. Louis River just to see how far up we could get.
Well, this is a bona fide tributary. I just don't know what river. This thing flows for who knows how many miles north of here.
Yeah. But water levels are just so low that we could only go about 50 yards before, it's just too shallow now and too rocky to bring the canoe up any further. We're gonna just walk upstream a little bit and see what's going on up this river. We can see some nice riffles up there, and it looks like it'd be fun just to walk up and check out what's going on.
I'm actually quite surprised by how clear this is. This is a cool little inlet.
That's the way that we came from. This site is actually pretty popular with other canoeists and people who have been kayaking. We've seen 4 boats now on the water, and this is a relatively small body of water. People are fishing or just out paddling with their family. And everyone that we've talked to has been so friendly. Just fun. Everyone seems to be out enjoying the night. Saw a guy catch a nice sized northern, but we haven't done any fishing yet. Haven't found anywhere that we think really is deep enough for a fish to hold.
A little hard to see with the camera, but right when I was about to put my wet foot down, I thought I spotted a fossil. And sure enough, I've seen fossils before in like petrified forest and Southwest and stuff, and I'm almost positive that this is a really decent section. You can see here, I'm not familiar enough with the area to know how old it might be, but you can see you've got really obvious striations in the rock. This section broke off, but this exposed section here shows ferns, petrified fern striations. It's really cool, just right here on the riverbed.
We think with the water being so low that it's exposed a lot of the riverbed that you don't normally see. So this is just regular rock, but then you kind of zoom on up here and you see these little striations along the riverbed, and we think that's possibly like old waves from this river just being here for thousands of years. Millions.
This whole Thompson area used to be a giant undersea riverbed, or it's ancient riverbed. And most of the Lake Superior Basin before the massive glaciation came in, this was all underwater from the giant sea lake. This area is really interesting.
We just are creeping out of this little river that we finished exploring. And as we're going, we just have our line back here in the water, hoping that something will bite if we go nice and slow and just kind of creep along. As those of you who've watched our previous videos might know, Minnesota is facing a pretty significant drought right now, which has opened up some pretty interesting adventures that we normally can't access, and closed off other adventures that we normally can do most years. Although this portion of the St. Louis River is dam controlled with water levels, it still is affected by the drought, just like the rest of the Northland has been. You can see here that the rock level normally shows where water levels are at, and it's a lot lower, even up here, probably 3 or 4 feet lower than what it normally is.
Well, it's about 7 p.m. Probably have like another half hour of daylight, being close to Canada, September daylight hours tend to get shorter and shorter. But we'll cruise back in with plenty of time, I think, to get the canoe back on the car and get everything situated before it gets dark. And just like most good trips, after any trip where you only have a couple short hours to explore the area, oftentimes you find yourself having more questions than answers. So we found several really enticing spots that have some really cool sections of water, new rivers, new islands, and a whole new section of the upstream St. Louis that we've never checked out before. So we've got 3 or 4 new places we need to check out the next time we come out and explore this upstream section of the St. Louis River.